Hey everybody, it's Wednesday on our Pagan Opinions. I'm feeling slightly better than I was last week. Actually, I'm feeling a lot better, but I still have a cold that's hanging on, and it's kind of zapping my energy, and I constantly am having to blow my nose, so it's just annoying at this point. But this week we're talking about creationism and whether it should be taught in public schools. And this is one of our social issues topics, and talking about just basically whether or not creationism should be taught in public schools. I know that is something that Christian groups have pushed to have. If they're going to teach evolution, then they have to teach creationism, things like that. My personal view on it is that if they're going to teach Christian creationism in public schools, that it should be taught along side by side with an equal, a dedicated equal amount of time of teaching of other cultures' creation stories, and that there shouldn't be a stress, or there shouldn't be a focus, I guess, on just Christianity and Christianity's creation story. Now, the easiest thing to do is just to not involve creationism at all. I personally think that if you want your child to have a religious education, you should take it upon yourself to either enroll them in classes at your church or get them involved in a private school. Nathan went to Catholic school, I think, his later elementary years, and then part of junior high, I believe. I'm not positive on it, so don't quote me. I personally went to public school my whole life, and we just recently sat down and started talking about options of where we want Nozomi to go to school, and we're leaning toward Waldorf education, supplemented with children's religious education that's taught through the UU Church, one of the UU churches in Madison, the First Unitarian Society. And I think it is important for children to have religious education. I think it's important in a different way than a lot of other parents, especially parents who come from a path that... Okay, so let me backtrack. I think that religious education is very important, but I don't think that it should be specific to one path. There are a lot of people out there, a lot of parents who are Christian, who are Wiccan, who are another form of pagan, who are Jewish, anything like that, who say, yes, it's important to have religious education, but they want it to be their religion that's being taught. I want Nozomi to learn about everything. I want her to grow up to be a well-rounded individual with a high level of discernment, and be able to understand where different faith systems are coming from when they have different beliefs. Whether or not I would expect for her to find that in a public school, I don't think I would expect for her to find that in a public school. I think as her parent, if that's important for me that she learn those things, then I should seek those out apart from a public school. Now, she's not going to be, if everything goes according to plan, I mean, she could possibly still go to public school, but in an ideal world, she would go to a private Waldorf school, and she would learn about different cultures, religions, but even then, I'm still supplementing her, or plan to supplement her, through the Children's Religious Education program at the Unitarian Universalist Church. And in the early years of that particular program, they learn about the main Abrahamic paths, and then after that, then they learn beliefs from different cultures. So I think that it is unfair, and I think that this actually stems to a greater issue. There's a root here that's a greater issue, and that issue is that I think that today's parents have become lax in certain ways, and have also become very demanding of the school system. There should be expectations for your child's education. You should hold your educators to a certain standard. You should expect them to be teaching your children great things. However, I think that in today's world, it would be ignorant not to be able to see that children are oftentimes raised at school. They go to school. The parents are either both out of the house working a lot, because let's face it, we all do it. We all work a lot. We have to in this economy. I mean, if you don't have a decent salary paying, upper management, upper financial, whatever type of job, or if you're not making a good income, then you may be working multiple jobs to get the bills paid. It's what has to happen at this point for a lot of people, by no means all, of course. But I think that probably toward the middle of my generation, there was a shift, a turning point in how parents and the duties that parents have given to the school system, the public school system. And I think that's very apparent in today's world. For instance, there is a comic out there somewhere floating around where it's like 1950. It's a picture of a little kid, and he's coming home, and he shows his parents the paper that he got a D on, and the parents are like bitching out the kid because what are you talking about? You got a D on your paper. And then side by side, right next to that image is an image of 2010 or 2011 or 2012, a little kid who comes home, shows a D on the paper, and the parents, both the mom, dad, and the kid go, and they're like screaming over the teacher's desk at the teacher, like, how could you let my kid get a D, blah, 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 all this stuff. And yes, there are definitely some holes within the public school system that need to be fixed, and it's very, very sad. But at the same time, I think that, like I said, today's parents have almost gotten very, just, there's not a word that I can, the words that's coming to mind is lazy, and I don't want to say lazy because that's not the correct word, but that's the best word that I have for it right now. But they've become very expectant and very demanding on, I send my child to school, these teachers should be raising my child. And in a way, it's valid because your child is there at that school with those people, those teachers, those students, for a lot longer than they're at home with you a lot of the time during the week, because especially if they're in sports and things like that. But I think that there has been, somewhere along the line, the family values have kind of fallen out from the typical American familial structure at home. And that is sad to me. If you want your child to have religious upbringing and you want them to know about religion, then you have to take it, and they're in a public school. They're not in a parochial school or anything where they're going to be learning about religion. You can't expect that the public school system teaches that to them. If that's something that is that important to you for your child to learn, you should take it upon yourself to make sure that those children learn those things. I mean, I can't speak 100% on this because I obviously wasn't alive during this time, but back in, like, say, I don't know, the 50s, there was the perception that I have of the 50s is that there was a much more close-knit nuclear family where kids go to school, yes, but there's still this very domestic, everyone kind of still sits down for dinner, we still talk about our day, we still talk about our problems. Nowadays, what I feel is that the nuclear family has kind of exploded outwards. You're lucky if you have all of your whole family down at the dinner table. And if you guys do have your whole family at the dinner table every night of the week, you are lucky. But now there's texting, and there's cell phones, and there's iPads and Facebook, and we've really gotten away as a society. We've gotten away from those good old traditional values. And whether or not you agree with that, or whether or not you think that is a good thing or a bad thing, is really up to yourself, I suppose, and your view of the world. But you can't expect that just because you are working longer hours, or your job demands that you're there for 60 hours a week, or for whatever reason, whatever the excuse is, that you are not teaching your child the religious fundamentals that you expect them to learn, there's no reason that public schools should have to pick up the slack on that. If you want your kids to have a religious education, either take them to a private school that centers around your specific religious beliefs that you want your child to learn about, or take it upon yourself to teach them, or enroll them in religious education programs through your church or community. It's also because it's stressed on, should creationism be taught in public schools? Creationism, in the context that we're talking about it, we're talking about the Christian creationism, or the Abrahamic creation story. It is unfair and presumptuous to have that being taught side by side with evolution in public school systems, because you are assuming and presuming and expecting that every family that goes to that school is, for one, religious or spiritual. There are atheist families. And secondly, that they're all of the Abrahamic faith system, and they're not. There are many different faith systems out there, and unfortunately there aren't too many schools out there that you can't... If I look in Madison for private schools, I'm hard-pressed to find a private school that is actually non-denominational or doesn't have a religious affiliation. There are a couple. All the other private schools are Baptist, or they're Lutheran, or they're Catholic, or they're some form of Christian. I don't even think that there are any Jewish private schools in Madison. There may be. But if you have those resources, and they're whether the resource is to send your child to private school or if it's to supplement through religious education at home or through church, that's the option that you have. And I think that that's a very fair option, because not every child, not every family that takes advantage of the public school system and allows their child to go through the public school system has the same religious beliefs, nor should we expect them to have the same religious beliefs. I think that diversity is something beautiful that colors the world, and it would be a sad day for me if I see that there are public schools that favor one particular religious system or spiritual system over another. And yes, it happens, and yes, it's unfortunate, but if that were to become the standard or the norm, that would be a very, very sad day for me. So hopefully that answers it. To kind of recap, I don't believe that creationism should be taught in public schools. There are other schools and other programs out there to be able to supplement your child's religious education. And if it is, then I think that schools should devote just as much time, public schools, to teaching the creation stories of other culture. Right now, in the public school system, or at least 10 years ago when I was in the public school system, we learned about other religions, but it's just glossing over it. I think that if creationism had been taught from elementary school on, for instance, that there would definitely be more of an impact or more of a focus on that kind of Christian or Abrahamic creation, and I don't think that is fair in a public school system. So that's what I believe. And I'm really looking forward to all of the topics, or all of the what's the word I'm looking for? Contributions this week. I'm filming this on Sunday evening, so we haven't even started this next week yet. So that's it, and I will talk to you guys all next week. I love you. Blessed be.